Hi, I'm currently embarking on the most ambitious weight loss phase that I've done in over a decade, and I want to share with you 5 lessons that I learned just this week. 1. Eating out. I didn't realize until I started paying very close attention how many times in a given day I was eating out. I was going out to eat 1 to 3 times pretty much every single day. One of the first things I decided to cut was I limited my number of times going out to eat in a day to just once at most. And when I do go out for that max 1 meal per day, I'm being very selective with what I get. Always opting for the highest protein, lowest calorie, most nutrient dense option. Number 2, protein timing / proportions. I found it very important to eat a good amount of protein throughout the entire day instead of trying to concentrate it toward the beginning or the end. What I used to do is I would either eat a lot of protein in the beginning of the day and then be like, oh look, I got plenty of room for junk at the end, or not really pay attention to my protein intake and then at the end of the day need to compensate by adding on a bunch of stuff. The problem with this is my calories are pretty aggressively low right now to where that's just not going to work. I'm going to end up way off track if I do that approach. So if you eat 5 meals a day and you need to get 200 grams of protein daily, each of those meals has to have roughly 40 grams of protein. Very low calorie substitutions. I've been looking for the absolute bottom dollar calorie numbers on every single food I get. Like you're talking about regular milk versus 2% versus skim milk. I went all the way to ultra filtered skim milk. There is no fat in my yogurt. And while I have been having both eggs and egg whites, I've been trending on the side of mostly just egg whites. You'd be amazed at how low you can actually cut your calories and eat fairly comfortable just by theoretically saying, how low could I cut these calories, even if you don't end up following all of these and still get a satisfying day of eating and a lot of protein in. Splitting up steps throughout the day. Similar to splitting up my protein relatively evenly between meals, I try and keep my steps split up relatively evenly. So if it's like noon and I check my step count and I'm like, only have 3,000 steps, I gotta get 9,000 today, it's time to go for a walk ASAP. And while yes, knocking out a bunch of your steps early in the day when you get an opportunity to do so is great, it will quickly become unsustainable if you rely on this when something comes up. And finally, I don't really have a name for this last thing, but I guess right now I'm just going to call it stop-start eating, and I'm going to explain to you what I mean by this. What I mean is, especially when I'm low on calories near the end of the day, I will eat some food, like just a little bit of food, far less than I would think is actually going to fill me up. And then just take a pause, check my fullness gauge, and oftentimes what I realize is that amount of food that I have, even if it's like only a couple hundred calories, is enough to hold me over. It might not fill me all the way up, but it gets me full enough, and it also prevents me from binge eating. It's basically like the equivalent of putting $20 in your gas tank when you don't have enough money in your checking account to fill your full tank. Anyway, if you want to follow along my weight loss journey or start your own, follow me at Johnny Reps Fitness.